other smaller pieces that have been done about the town that try to show basically there are as many perspectives on the community as there are people there. And it goes beyond ethnicity. It's not just an ethnic specific perspective on the town. There's a lot of diversity even within all of these different cultural communities are there, and you've got class differences, all kinds of differences like any town does. So people have different viewpoints of the community. We spent a lot of our time, anytime we felt we had the picture, we had the story all figured out, and then we'd go talk to another group. Wow, you know, it's like the same, boy, I didn't go through this experience, and it was neat. So by the end of doing this, it was, you know, I think we were just firmly planted in the middle and trying to find some level of balance and some level of truth and validity in all of the different viewpoints we were running into from all kinds of different people.
Yes, ma'am. Then we'll go to you too, please.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm the 7th generation of my family to live in Iowa, and I'm also a Jew. So Postville is very interesting to me, and one of the things that I'd like to ask about, we get many different language groups. How did the Rabashkins deal with, say, safety regulations in their plant, with all the different languages?
Yeah, I would say that for the vast majority of folks who came through, there were interpreters provided. You're not going to be able to put up signage in every language that came through town, but they did. I didn't hear of many languages they didn't provide some kind of interpretation.
And I heard that Spanish was one of the languages that they were not informed of safety regulations. And safety regulations, as you know, with the meat packing, is a critical area.
Yeah, I certainly haven't had that. I can't imagine that's the case. Now, there could have been gaps in there that I'm not aware of, but I doubt that very seriously.
Yeah, a lot of the, what they would try to do within the plan, and again, I just want to add the caveat, although Aaron is an Orthodox Jew, he is not affiliated with the plan. A lot of times we'll do these presentations and somebody will yell, why did you hire all those illegal aliens? I own a hospital bed store.
That's right.
He was actually this great cultural liaison between the Christians, there the Jews, all the Latinos, so he's been terrific.
And I've actually heard Aaron.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have heard him. But the issue of occupational safety and health is a major issue for meatpacking workers all over the United States, all over Iowa. It's a big, high priority issue. I'm not sure there's ever enough safety, frankly, in any company with meatpacking. It's always something that they worry about a lot. I know in the agri-processors plant, a lot of times the line supervisors were people from that particular ethnic group that tended to dominate, or they spoke the language. So
does your book deal with that? I mean, I'm very interested in reading your book because the only book I've read is Stephen Bloom's, and obviously, you know, I would like to get a more balanced view.
Well, you will. You're about to.
Yes, yeah, we do talk about some element of the issues going on in the plant. Again, it's also sort of a broader look at Postville, because the community has been defined by the agri-processors plant, again, for better, for worse, with all of this media, but there is a lot more to it. But as a public health specialist, I would be the first to agree with you that meatpacking plants in general, it's a major issue for all employees. They've got to keep on top of that. And with the growing diversity in the state of Iowa, this is a very valid need. Those companies have got to have lots of information out there in multiple languages. And they have the issue of literacy. A lot of the people, if they're immigrant workers that are working in these plants, do not necessarily have high enough literacy levels. So if they're doing, handing out brochures or look on the sign on the wall, that's not going to be the most effective way to train them.
What is the reaction of the town to the raid? You know, we're out here remote but still connected enough, and it's amazing the fury of people's reactions and the broad spectrum. And I know people are absolutely furious and think that the Rabashkins were just abusing people horribly, ripping everybody off. It was absolutely unconscionable, and they think that anything they produce shouldn't be considered kosher because of that. That's a totally different issue.
Sure.
Okay. I know people who think that were involved as lawyers with these immigrants who were rounded up, put in a cow palace or something,
cattle
Congress,
and thought that there was major violation of their civil rights, and that this was basically not just unethical but illegal the way they were treated. I have heard other people who are strongly defensive of the meatpacking plant, and especially Shalom Rabashkin, and the family for providing this service, and that this doesn't have anything to do with kosher, and this was a major tragedy. And then there are intonations from what you're getting saying that there was a major tragedy for the town of Postville. And then there are also, of course, are people out there saying that there were these radical extremists from out of the state who were spying on the meatpacking plant, taking pictures and so forth, and turned them in for the nasty feds to come in and destroy the town, and also the Jewish community, and also the diverse community, multi-ethnic, and immigrant. Can you help us through this?
We'll take your first 30 questions.
Karen, you take the first 15.
Passionate.
Okay,
Whatever
thank
people
you.
think
Yeah.
is passionate
Yeah.
about Postville.
Yeah, that's
Why,
it.
whatever they think,
Yeah,
they
go
really
ahead.
think
Yeah.
it.
They really don't.
I feel it. Yes, go ahead. You start.
For one thing is living in the hurricane, I can tell you like this, is that Postville, one of the reasons that the first talk that we ever had was that we already, before a lot of these things were said and expressed, we already saw that Postville was a Trojan horse for many, many different agendas worldwide. Some of them were for PETA, some of them were union-driven, some of them were competitors, some of them were divisions in theologically conservative versus orthodox Jews. Postville seemed to become the lightning rod for many, many different issues. And that exploitation continues today. Now, you can't make something blow apart that's perfectly organized and perfectly clean and perfectly, wonderful and all those other things. So there was little things that there was doors that I would say that opened, that created the opportunities that were to a large degree never handled properly, never dealt with properly. And we do talk about that in the book. We feel that to some degree, the Ravashans were just outmanned, outgunned, and overwhelmed with their own success. There were so many things that came in from so many different directions. They're just ill-equipped to handle a company that they might have run successfully if it was $15 million, but when it blew up to $300 million, it just becomes an unbelievable thing. And if you read the classical business textbooks, usually what they do with the founder of the business is the old joke in business schools when you slip the sleeping gas under their door one day and take them out and put them in a laboratory somewhere, and then you bring the professionals to run the operation. And it didn't happen here. And so I think, again, some of these created great opportunities for people to make a tremendous exploitation of what was wrong there. And it would be a very fascinating scientific study to see, were conditions in the Postville plant really any different than the plants anywhere else? Is this really an indictment of meatpacking industry at large? I know myself, I had a professor from the University of Iowa came down, was concerned about safety issues, and I said, you know what? I was right in one of the offices, let's call your insurance broker right now. I want to call right now, get him on the phone. And we got him right on the phone at the time, and I said, without preparation, tell me about the experience accident rates for agri-processors as they compare in the industry. And the guy said, their rating is better than average. They had less actual claims and less actual reported injuries than the industry standard. A little bit shocking, right? Because that's a real fact. But, when you pick up all the pieces and all the things, like, when you go into, you look into claims and for firemen, you're going to find people get burned. When you look for claims for people who wash windows, people fall. When you look into claims for people working meatpack plants, you have back issues, you have cuts, you have other problems. But I'm not saying that it was, Mark has more experience, he's traveled to tons and tons of plants. And I'm not sure that there's any real evidence what happened in Postville was any sizably different than anywhere else. And some of these things are going to come to light in the courtroom. Because a lot of the allegations, a lot of the prosecution was done in the media, was done through PR, was done supported by people who had very different interests and driving different interests and wanted to accomplish certain things. And so the truths got blown to pieces. Now, that's going back to one of, I think, question 24, 25, I'm not sure in there, but the mayor today has told me that he sat with a lot of people in town, and he has zero need or interest to say this. And he says he feels the town has just been blown to pieces. He feels that the Ravashans have already overpaid than what was reasonable and fair for the circumstances, and he said that's the growing sentiment in the town. In the beginning, everybody didn't know what to make of it all. No one knew the truth. The allegations were flying right and left. How do you make sense of it? You're not on the inside. You don't know what all these things are. You can't possibly know. Just too many. There are so many charges, so many different allegations, and so it was really impossible for people to get their arms around it, to know really what's the truth. And again, I think Mark could address to give perspective. I've never seen another meatpacking plant, but I can tell you one other thing, and this was before it was popular, and there was no media. I walked through that